Back
We
from the US.
gave a couple of lectures at Notre Dame. So we are here today exactly 3 days before your course on Oswald Spengler's The Decline of the West begins this Saturday. And we are going to answer your questions today. Some of you have emailed me. If you have any questions on the course, please let us know in the chat now so we can get to your questions towards the end. We'll be here exactly 30 minutes this time. So if you have any questions, let us know. You can enroll. Here we've got 20 people now enrolled currently in the course, most of them in the seminars. And there's a couple of places left if you wanted to enroll. I'll just briefly go over why you should read Spengler, to my mind. I think you should read Spengler, however you pronounce it. Because first of all, he's not, the first time we spoke, I asked you, is he not Dr. Doom? And you said no, which he's often considered a prophet of doom. But if you were just an accountant of decline, why read the book? We can see signs of decline everywhere. But instead, what Spengler perhaps can show us is, if you want to understand the course of history, if you want to understand the 20th century, but also the 21st century, if you want to have a vision or get a vision for a globalizing but multipolar world, then perhaps reading Spengler can be helpful as well. But also if you want to understand technology and money, if you want to understand the trajectory not only of the West, but of the other civilizations going forward, such as Russia or China. And if you wish to break with any Eurocentric framework that you might have, or any sort of progressivistic notion of history, or to quote Sebastian from a couple of weeks ago when you said he destroys your categories. So if you want to get a good shakeup, then this course is for you. But also if you're interested in the peculiar soul of the West, the Faustian soul, as compared to the magical or the Magian soul of the Middle East, let's say, but also as in comparison, a stark contrast to the ancient Greek world. So this is what perhaps, for the most part, I would say we can learn from Spengler. And let me just show you briefly now what the enrollment page looks like. If you click on the link, it takes you here. Now you can choose from a couple of different study modes. If you don't have time for the seminars, that's fine. Take the self-study mode right here at the beginning. If you do have time for the seminars, then you should join us for 10 group seminars, which Sebastian will lead. You can also split the cost by using this here. Or if you want to take private sessions, 10 private sessions with Professor Dr. Sebastian Ostrich, then this third tier is for you. We usually here work with people who are maybe working on a book or working on a couple of essays that they need help with, or perhaps if you're writing a play, etc., or you just need more guidance even, then this might be for you. So to you, Sebastian.
Yes. So you named a couple of reasons why everyone should read Spengler, and I think there's some more points I want to add to the list you just opened up, because really I think there's no excuse for not having read Spengler. And since Spengler is almost never taught at university or anywhere else, this is your chance to learn about one of the most important books of the 20th century, one of the most important books on the philosophy of history ever. And you already mentioned progressivism. Yes, if you want to rid your mind of this cancerous idea of progressivism, then you must read Spengler. And progressivism, I don't mean like this day-to-day political notion of progressivism. By progressivism, I mean the idea that human history is somehow a linear movement towards some imagined utopia, and then you can fill in whatever utopia you have. And this utterly idiotic idea, which will reveal itself as such if you read Spengler. Yes, in order to destroy this, to get rid of this idea once and for all, which we are permeated with this idea, even if we don't want to. Myself, I all the time I realize that I think in progressive terms, and then I turn to Spengler, and yeah, I'm smarter, cured a little bit. So to cure, like, it's a cure of progressivism. Number one. Number two, everyone must read Spengler to correct the false notion that really all cultures are basically the same. We all are the same. We all want the same. No, we're all radically different. So interestingly enough, usually people that fancy themselves the champions of diversity and difference, no, they don't have no clue what real difference and diversity is. And Spengler has one of the most radical notions of diversity, if you like, I mean cultural diversity, one which well, the current climate of diversity would not recognize as such. But his idea of diversity is so radical that he will point out that not even the notion of number and mathematics is one and the same across cultures. So this is the second reason why you should read Spengler and why you should come join our course. Reason number three, you must read Spengler in order to comprehend, if you so will, the conditions of the downfall of every civilization or of every culture. Because we also have to get rid of the idea, which is a beloved idea, even those who don't fancy themselves progressivist, namely the idea that, well, somehow our culture is very special in the sense that, it will just continue and go on. No, every culture is doomed in a certain sense, and we must understand what this means precisely without becoming somehow, depressed by it. And the fourth reason has to do with the third one, namely really to understand what's going on with our own cultural decline, which we can see everywhere we look. And we should not cry about it, but we should have a realistic idea about the downfall of our own culture. And having a realistic idea also leads to having a realistic sense of what options are available and possible for us to act, to move forward in some sense. So again, that's why you mentioned what I said earlier, that it's not all about being gloomy and doomy, but to really to understand in order to be able to act. And there is a sense in which you get this notion of how it is possible to act with Spengler, to act in a realistic sense. So these are the four main reasons why everyone should, I think, read Spengler, and then, of course, join our course. And joining our course also, means, and this I want to point out again, that we are not a Spengler fan club, because of course we will go beyond Spengler. We will take his ideas as serious as we can take them. We will not, in the beginning, lament that he's a reactionary white middle-aged man and that how problematic he is. None of this nonsense will happen in our course, but of course we will challenge him on the level of ideas and arguments, and we will try even to be probably more radical than he was. We'll try to even turn his relativism against himself and see if we can be maybe even more realistic than he himself was. Exactly. That's a Hegelian in me, elevating, going beyond Spengler, Aufhebung.
Yes.
This means Aufhebung.
Yeah.
Negating and moving to a higher level of thinking.
Very problematic that you don't find that problematic. What you said isn't problematic. I think we need to problematize that.
Well,
there's no word I hate more than problematizing. Anyways, that was good. Go on. By the way,
problematic. No, that was it. That's if you will, that's my pitch for reading Spengler and for joining my course. Now, Spengler is not easy. So for those of you who are unsure, well, if you haven't studied philosophy, if you're not well versed in Nietzsche and Goethe and Hegel and so on, well, that's your chance, because my role is not to pretend that we all know everything, but my role in this course is to help you figure things out that that you probably don't know yet, and to draw also connections between different thinkers, So no one has to pretend that they're really smart and have read everything or whatever. So you can really be quite naive, and this might
Yeah.
be actually helpful. But also, if you already have read Nietzsche, or if you're a Goethean fanatic, then of course you can come to your course as well, and I'm sure you will find other people who share your interests. And the great thing is are not constricted by any stupid points or anything. We can just work on whatever you guys want to work on. So we all get ahead in our thinking. That's the main goal, to really just open up our minds to a new mode of thinking.
Yeah, but this, by the way, this is one of the questions that I received in an email, which is, what are the prerequisites for the course? I always say that there are none. Very often the question comes, well, what should I read, to start to introduce myself to Plato, but read Plato?
Exactly.
You learn how to swim by being thrown in the water and not drowning immediately. And the same is true for philosophy, maybe, and especially Spengler is a good place to start if you haven't read any philosophy, because it's not extremely technical. The language, it's all very graspable. There's a plethora of examples from the natural world, from history, etc. So in that sense, really very accessible. Also, what we see, given that we have no age limit, so the youngest one who will be joining us is 17. I think this is going up
Perfect.
to around 60 or so, maybe even older. So quite different from what you used to from high school or from university, probably even, depending which university you went to. And you would, and people will have different levels, but that doesn't mean, so no one needs to, there's no way of homogenizing this. We're trying, as Sebastian said, of getting us into things. So the prerequisite is to be, in a sense, in a good sense, naive.
Yeah.
Naive meaning original, primordial, maybe also, to not come with a lot of baggage.
Exactly. That's the best thing. Be open to the idea that what you might think about Spengler turns out to be untrue, or that you have to think in a different way about him. So just be open. That's pretty much it. Be open to thinking and reading clearly, and really we'll focus a lot on language as well. So as you said, his language is very poetic, but
Yeah.
not very like technical, and so it's really approachable. But then because it's so poetic, it also well, it demands a lot of effort on part of the reader to really unfold what lies in certain metaphors or pictures that he uses. And so that will be one of our tests. So you, by reading Spengler, you also learn how to read in general, like philosophical texts. And this is so that's a key a key ability that you need if you want to philosophize at all.
Okay, here's a question from Ellen, which I think relates to something that you said. He can teach us, so Spengler can teach us how to act. Can you say more?
Well, I can say a little bit more. So the idea is, uh, you can obviously decide. Um, well, let's put it that way. Typically, there's this idea that we're just like we have infinite possibilities in front of us, and we can just choose the course not of our own lives, but also we can choose the course of history and go on in any direction we want. But this, for Spengler, would be unrealistic because we have to take into account um, well, the state not only of our own lives but also of the culture that we are part of. So if a 90-year old man tells you that now he plans to finally um, found a family and to find a young pretty wife and then to see his children grow up, then you will tell him, I'm sorry, I don't think that's really a viable idea, because this is not according to your your position in your life. And so the same is true then, of course, for Spengler for cultures, which does not mean that we don't have any options that we can choose from, but we have to choose knowing where we are in the life cycle of a culture. And for Spengler, this is civilization. So we have to somehow come to terms with the fact that we are at the end of a cultural life cycle, and that maybe we have to forge a way forward. But forging this way forward will have to mean a certain openness to something new. Will also have to mean to accept that our way of life, in a certain sense, is coming to an end. So between these two poles of being open towards something new and accepting that something has to come to an end, this will shape the way and we will think about how to act or how to move forward in the course.
Excellent. So Alan says, thank you. You betcha. You were just in America,
You
so
you betcha.
You betcha. Alan should have could be an American name. Who knows? So if you have more questions, let us know now. Here's me. I can't read that. That's quite impressive. A 70-year-old knows often is interested in learning reading Spengler. Well, this fine young gentleman earlier this year also took the Hegel masterclass with Dr. Philip Niklas. So he is quite an impressive young man. But wherever or whoever you are, you should join us as well.
Exactly. Let's be impressive together.
It doesn't look. It doesn't matter the age. If you can read or want to learn how to read, then this is it. So another question I got via email is who runs the seminars? Well, that's Sebastian. So I'm the host, but Sebastian is the teacher. He's also teaching. So he's doing the entire course. It's his course. I'll just show you what this looks like on the inside now. So there's no confusion. Sebastian teaches. When you enroll, this is what it looks like on the inside. So this is just the overview over the readings. You can download this here. Then let me just turn this on.
Hegel was a child of his own.
Of course, Hegel is mentioned immediately.
Own time, just like any other person.
This is the first lecture. This is the video. This is the audio files. You can just listen to it. There's also an app by Teachable that works on the iPhone and all Android phones, so you can use the app. It looks pretty good. And here's the lectures. You can either use the reader or print the lecture off and just read along and see the see what he's on about, see the quotes and everything else. So this is the second
and the lectures to point out they're original lectures, so they're not available anywhere else. It's not a book that's already out there which you could, so it's really exclusive material to the course. So
yeah,
I really try to like present you a understandable Spengler, something that you can all work with, but also, of course, I try to show you my own perspective on him, and I think that's also just fair. So I will not try to hide what I think, but even though my main point is getting you to think as well on your own, and not necessarily convincing you that my view is the correct one. Of course, I think it is the correct one. Otherwise, it wouldn't be my view. But I hope everyone understands what I mean. So
yeah.
This is exactly like the exchange of ideas, where everyone is open to the ideas of the other, and without being all relativistic. Well, all ideas are just as good or something like that.
No, they're not. And civil, it will be very civil. Our seminars are very civil. Well, this is another question people always ask: is what are the seminars like? And to quote from one of my, one of our students once said, "It's everything that university should have been, but wasn't." So, and you will see that this is Sebastian taught a Hegel course in German earlier this year, and I remember you saying this is the best day of the week. Saturday mornings reading Hegel.
It's true.
Yeah.
So for me as a teacher as well, it's really that what university in Germany should be like, but unfortunately is very rarely anymore. Just really people focused on thinking as such.
So here's Harris who says Halcyon
So
seminars
wait,
are really great. Thank you. Yeah,
so wait.
I know.
There was
What?
the Heidegger question we did. You
Yeah,
didn't put
but no, I know, but
but
this is. Sorry, I'll moderate this, and I won't forget. Can you speak about Heidegger's critique of Spengler? Well, you have to enroll, and then I might show up, and then I might tell you what I think. I have done a couple of weeks ago during another live stream I did on my own. I've addressed this. If you want to say something, Sebastian, you can if you know about it. But I'll say this: I've already said it, and if you want to know more, come to the seminars. We can discuss Heidegger. But go on. If you want to.
So of course I will not allow you to speak on Heidegger. No, I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, that would be great. So I would be interested in that too. What you'll have to say, but of course, so you have to say, Johannes. But of course, Frank Atkinson, you should come to the course and find out. I myself have to be honest. I'm not aware of Heidegger's critique on Spengler, but I will do. As I always do, I will look into it, and then in the course, I will definitely say something about it if you're there. So that this is something also I'm I promote. If you don't know something, just tell everyone you don't know, but then you will look it up and you come back.
It's, for example, in the Parmenides lecture series. I can show you the passages.
All right.
Some of what Heidegger says is not very substantial. It's basically just complaining. So, anyways, I have a question. Will we have an opportunity to discuss German terms more in depth? Sebastian does this in the first lectures for certain words, but as an English speaker learning German. Okay, so it sounds like you're enrolled, which is great. And so, again, will we discuss the German?
Yes, we will discussing German as much as. So I will, as you have said, I point certain terms out in my lecture, where I think it's necessary, and I'm very happy if there's more interest in that, just the different aspects of language. So I'm very, very, very happy if we can discuss more of the German original as well. But I will. That will depend on how much interest there is in the course. But if this is something you're interested in, I'm very happy to go into whatever questions there are. And I think you're on the right track. Sometimes the translation really needs an explanation with regard to the original German expressions and terms. Otherwise, it can be misleading a little bit. So. Yeah, short answer, yes.
There's never a short answer when it comes to the German terms that cannot be translated. Sorry, even just the word Untergang, decline, maybe not the best translation for Untergang.
No.
Going down, usually, so when you read Zarathustra, Nietzsche's Zarathustra, which, as you may know, begins with Zarathustra's Untergang. In the newer translation, I'm not sure about Walter Kaufmann's, but in the new one published by Cambridge, they actually say, "Thus began Zarathustra's going down," or down going even. So, maybe to keep in mind, Das Abendland is not the West. Das Abendland is the land of the evening. Which has a relationship with the land of the morning. Maybe this question, and I don't know if you want to answer this here live, but maybe it fits a bit at least. A defining debate about Western civilization, I don't know, has been the conflict between piety and philosophy, Jerusalem versus Athens, Plato versus the Bible. Well, what was Plato but Attic Greek-speaking Moses? Anyways, does Spengler offer an insight in regards to this debate?
That's a good question, Fizzywick. So I would say yes, he does an offer into this debate, even though I think there is a certain, well, at least in the negative he does. So one thing I point out, or I have already pointed out in the first two lectures that I recorded, is, and this will be an ongoing theme for me, is well, if you will, a certain lack of piety when it comes to Spengler himself. So Spengler's philosophy is really an immanent one. So one that is not grounded in transcendence. And so his view on all religious matters and yes, just of what we call Offenbarung. What is the right term for Offenbarung, Johannes? For revelation. All right. So is an immanent one, a cultural one. So he's not a thinker like Erik Voegelin, for example, who really understands history as a certain I would say a certain tension between immanence and transcendence. So in this regard, that's very interesting and revealing that Spengler is a different kind of thinker, much more related to Hegel, by the way. But I will, since I tend rather to the different view, namely grounding our understanding of the world in transcendence, this is something I do criticize in my lectures. So I point out in my lectures. So this will come up just because I'm interested in it.
Yeah, but also, Jerusalem versus Rome, perhaps to be closer to Nietzsche, but not so much maybe Plato versus the Bible, but the Apollonian versus the Faustian soul.
Oh, yeah.
For someone like Heidegger, to come back to Heidegger briefly, das Abendland, Heidegger continuously speaks of das Abendland. For Heidegger, das Abendland, the Occident, not the West, not a really good word for it. The Occident begins with Anaximander, and he thinks of Anaximander as the beginning of the Abendland. Not so Spengler. Das Abendland beginnt vor 1000 Jahren. The land of the evening, the West, the Occident begins 1,000 years ago, basically.
Exactly.
And it has a very different understanding. God, maybe Heidegger felt a bit, I don't know, that Spengler could show him something that he didn't see himself. So Heidegger also holds to the model of antiquity, Middle Ages, and modernity. Spengler does not, as we will see in the lectures. Okay, you go on, and then we have a couple more questions. By the way, if you have more questions, we're leaving in a couple of minutes, so let us know now. And if you have no more questions, then now is the time to enroll. The link to do so is in the chat or also in the description of this video. Sebastian, go on.
I just wanted to underline what you said and just probably point out one more thing, that for Spengler, all these categories or these oppositions that you put into your question, he would probably not even accept them as oppositions in this sense, because the reference to the Bible, then Spengler would be, what do you mean by the Bible? So not even Christianity is for Spengler correlated only with one culture or with the West. No, Christianity itself is for Spengler, if you so will, divided into different cultures, or it belongs in at different times into different cultures. So originally, it is part of the Magian soul, and then only in what we typically call the Middle Ages, with the rise of the church and the political power of the church, does it become a part of the Occident for Spengler. So even here, Spengler is a destroyer of categories, if you so will. So Spengler will make you question those oppositions.
And now we've got two more questions. We'll keep the answers very brief, Sebastian, because now they really have to enroll. So here is from Mark Chaconia. Could you expound on some of Spengler's key criticisms of Kant, or Kant as he's actually pronounced, that we find in Volume 1? Briefly.
Oh wow! You have to come to the course. So we'll. That's all I can say. Pretty much, it has to do with Kant's notions of, especially of his understanding of time, and also maybe of space. But the the question is too broad to just answer in 1 or 2 minutes. So I would have to be more specific, or I would have to need more time. But come to the course. This is the stuff we'll talk about.
Yeah, that's the kind of things that we want to hear. It'll be a symphony of voices, as always. How did Spengler, this is Harris, how did Spengler evaluate the modern mathematical developments? How, did he see them as signs of creativity or decay of the Faustian culture? This is great.
Oh, well, it depends what you mean by modern mathematical development. So the developments themselves, so mathematics has, as every aspect of culture, has a certain life cycle itself. So a new idea, a new notion of number comes into being, if you so will, and then develops into a full system, which then is somehow, well, if you will, only like the which has no really vital energy anymore to it, but is only, taught and repeated and so on. It becomes somehow stale, so has no real creative power within it anymore. So that's just the way. But at the same time, it's very detailed and it's very elaborate. So those are just the typical factors of every cultural notion. And for Spengler, this is not good or bad. So it's creative, and as everything that is created, it decays.
Yeah, and also don't he's not making the same criticism as René Guénon also would have, of modernity as the rule or the reign of quantity. Harris is a mathematician, you could say. So it might be of interest here that the second full lecture, which means the third seminar, will actually deal with the meaning of numbers. So Sebastian has recorded an entire lecture on that section in the book on the meaning of numbers and Spengler's understanding of mathematics, which also is strikingly different from how you usually think of mathematics as a universal theory that applies everywhere. Spengler begs to differ. So I would now like to point out the following as we are disappearing into the night. We are going not too gently tonight. We are calling on you to go to the enrollment page. And if you have time for the seminars, let's say at least you can make it to 5 of them. We're always meeting on Saturdays, 10 Saturdays, beginning this week on Saturday at 6 p.m. UK time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're meeting 10 times, and the last one will be December 16th. There's the last Saturday in October. We're not meeting because Sebastian is in Rome. So this would be your study tier or option. If you don't have time at all for the seminars, then take the self-study option. If you want to spread the tuition fee, then just get the payment plan for the seminars. Or if you want to work on something really substantial, maybe a longer piece that you've been working on in the philosophy of history or similar, then get the private sessions with Sebastian. We're always meeting over Zoom, including the private sessions. I will be in attendance a couple of times myself, and so if you have any Heidegger questions, we can get to those perhaps. But it's not a Heidegger seminar. So yeah, we have, I think, about 18 in the seminars at the moment. And if you want to join us, now is the time to do so. And well, that's it from me. Thank you very much indeed. Any parting words, Sebastian?
No, thanks for listening. Tell everyone about the course that you think might be interested in. Come enroll if you haven't enrolled yet. I think it will be a great opportunity, and I'm looking forward to meeting and talking to everyone.
And can I just say the questions were excellent just here?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm pretty sure that it will continue like that in the seminars. You think that, obviously? Yeah, you would agree? I interrupted you.
I taught one course with you on Hegel, and it was really excellent. And so now it was in German, and since this is in English, I think we even have a bigger crowd with different backgrounds as well than we had in German, just naturally because there were more people who speak English. And so I think if that is any indicator, I think this will be really a one of the best seminars that I ever got to teach so far. And I've taught more than 40, so let's go.
Well, we look forward to it. So see you all on Saturday.
Right.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.